Hello internet, albeit I'm staring obviously at my phone. Paul here of PGGS Music. I wanted to do something a little bit different to the kind of stuff that I post normally, like me doing sections from lessons or songs I've been trying to work out lately. As you'll probably know if you've been following any of my pages for a little while, mental health is something that is very important to me, something that's very pertinent to me as well. And I've wanted to do something around that for a while, but I hadn't quite figured out the best way of doing that, for lack of a better phrase. You can tell I'm waking up. Um, so what I thought I would do, particularly with Monday being World Mental Health Day, is I would have a go at trying something a bit different. So I'm very clumsily calling these videos Music, Mental Health and Me. Notion being talking about a song, how it relates to my experience of mental health, with a view that, well, in the hope I should say, that it may help some of you. I know from bands that I follow, musicians that I'm friends with, that mental health is something that seems to be particularly rife within musicians, given it makes sense, I guess, given music is such a powerful creative outlet. It's a means of expressing a range of different emotions, oftentimes very negative, but also a means of turning those negative emotions into something a bit more positive. So yeah, I'm hoping that doing these, well, I should probably stress as well at this point, obviously the content of these is going to waver from a bit heavy to quite heavy, in terms of themes and events. But I do also want to stress as well that I am thankful to be kind of making these videos from a position of relative stability now. It hasn't always been that case, but I'm definitely in a place where I am able to talk about things that I've gone through and I've experienced, and I've had to deal with. And yeah, if I was in a dip, I definitely wouldn't be quite this articulate or chatty. But I'm still waking up, but it's fine. Anyone who's followed anything I do knows that I don't really tend to think too far ahead about things when I hit record. So I just open my mouth and hope for the best. So, music, mental health, and me. The song for this first one is a song that has taken on a level of significance I never would have anticipated. So the shirt is a bit of a subtle hint, and that is the First Snow by Lustre. So I stumbled across this quite randomly on one of those pre-made Spotify playlists, like new metal releases or something of that nature, and something about it kind of stuck with me in its balance of being really hauntingly pretty, but also quite foreboding and bleak in the background. And to try and keep a long story short, it ended up becoming kind of the unofficial soundtrack of me dealing with depression. So to give you a very brief history, just so you kind of know where I'm coming from. And again, I'd like to stress this is only kind of my experience. I appreciate everybody's journey with mental health is very different, and things that worked for me won't necessarily work for you, and vice versa. But the thing that I would say is universal is when able to talk to people. Because the only reason I'm able to talk this openly about it, without being frankly a blubbering mess, is that I've been able to talk to people about it, friends, family, work, professionals, and get to a point where I can manage and regulate and be open about it. So that's the only kind of broad-reaching piece of advice that I think holds true for everybody, which is when able to, with someone you trust, talk to them. So yeah, as a bit of a general wraparound for what these are going to be. Again, they're all going to be very rambly, but I'm literally just thinking as I'm talking. So the First Snow by Lustre, as I say, it became a bit of a kind of a soundtrack to my journey with depression. What I found for myself was that it started with bouts of anxiety, which is something when it first happened was completely alien to me, so it was quite terrifying. I'm one of those people, terrifying. Learn to speak, Paul. Um, I'm one of those people that routinely checks doors and car locks and that sort of thing. And I found on one occasion that 20 minutes had passed and I was still checking, and I felt a flood of emotions, didn't know what was going on. So, 2 or 3 more episodes like that. Time with the GP, the IAP service, doing cognitive behavioural therapy or CBT through the GP, all sorts of different things. And that's led me to being able to get to this point. But the Lustre song really comes into play for me at the point where I was diagnosed with moderate depression. So thankfully, I've never been at the point where I feel at risk to myself or risk to others. Again, I know there are people out there who have gone through these kind of situations, and I would never want to downplay the severity of that. And I am grateful that my own symptoms, my experience, have only been comparatively mild. Because I know firsthand what those kind of situations can be like for people. Well, I suppose secondhand, technically. Firsthand, my experience has been quite moderate, thankfully. But at the point where I was formally diagnosed and tried some counselling routes, and I've been on antidepressants now for, it's either just over 2 years or just over 3 years, I lose track. So I'm currently on 100 milligram doses of sertraline. And again, I'm not saying this stuff to be kind of woe is me. I'm saying this stuff because I am thankfully in a position of stability and a position where I am able to regulate my mental health, and in a position where I can hopefully be of some help to others as well, albeit they see this and maybe feel that maybe if they think actually, oh, you know what, there is a song that kind of speaks to me, and that's a way of being able to begin that conversation with people. Because if you're in a situation where you're having emotions that you can't explain, like, that's a nice little segue, Paul, well done, like that, for those first anxiety attacks where I had no idea what was going on with me, having a piece of music is our way of being able to articulate it, because at least people can then recognise if nothing else, the severity of what you're dealing with. And on the scale of bleak songs, The First Snow is as much pretty as it is grim. But it also became useful for me as from the perspective of being a bit of a white flag. So there are a number of friends who I speak to regularly about my mental health, because again, if you take one thing away from this, is when able, with someone you trust, talk to them. I'm very thankful that I have people in my life who are beyond supportive, and this song in particular, for some of them who I speak with regularly, has become kind of a bit of a white flag for I'm not doing well, I'm listening to Lustre again. Sad Paul tends to listen to Lustre, although occasionally upbeat or even happy Paul will listen to it, but generally it's sad Paul that listens to them. Side note, they've actually put out a new album earlier this year, and it is superb, so I highly recommend it. Thirst for Summer Rain. Wasn't intended to be a plug, but I'm just talking, and the caffeine is slowly hitting my bloodstream. So it's become, as I say, a bit of a soundtrack for how my depression was when I was in the thick of it. Thankfully now I can listen to that song and not have the same level of overwhelming emotion, but it still resonates with me. But now it's an indicator of how far I've come with managing my depression. But also, as I say, it's our way of being able to express where my mental state is at, and also a way of telling people I'm not doing okay without, those things about tell me your ex without telling me your ex. So it became a good way of going, I'm not doing well. It's the first snow. I'm not sure where I was going with this, but hopefully this little ramble it hasn't been too tangential and um, what's the word I'm looking for? Dull? I don't know. Um, so it's just something I wanted to open a conversation about. I've shared things about mental health before. It's something that it was always quite important to me, but now it's a big part of my world, and I know how much of a part it is of the people in my worlds. That was a clumsy sentence. It's something that I've endeavoured to be more and more proactive about. So, yeah, I would highly recommend you listen to The First Snow. It is, like I say, it is as beautiful as it is bleak. Um, and even if you're not someone who is more inclined to the kind of more black metal vocals, the beauty of the Lustre stuff is they kind of they mix kind of the opposite to how you would normally with metal stuff. So rather than being lurking in the background, the keyboards and the effects are right at the front, and rather than going over top of everything, the vocals are right at the back, um, almost like they're outside in the distance. So yeah, so that yeah, so it's definitely worth a try. And it is 10 minutes. I won't lie to you. And I say the new album's also fantastic. So I wasn't intending to plug the new album, but yeah, it is fantastic. So I would highly recommend that as well. So how am I going to wrap this up? Yes, plans to do kind of one of these each month, roughly, because I think it's good to it's good to talk and good to keep things out in the open. As I say, I know that mental health is not something that's unique to me, but obviously my experience of it will be different to anybody else's. So I will only ever speak to my experience. So yes, thank you for, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening to me ramble. I hope that you are all doing well. If you are not, then obviously there are places you can go. There are people you can speak to, like professionals and GPs and work. But above all else, as I say, if you're feeling able to, and if there is someone that you trust to share that information with, talk to someone. It can be a friend, it can be a work colleague, it can be a family member, it could be all of those things. Because yes, I'm sure that they would much rather listen to what's happening with you right now than listen to or deal with something much more serious down the line. So yeah, and if there is someone in your life that you are concerned about, don't be afraid to just ask, how are you? Are you doing okay? I saw this that you posted or that you said the other day, because it can be difficult talking about it. I mean, I'm fortunate in the sense that when I start talking, it's very difficult for me to get me to shut up sometimes. But not everyone is as extroverted as that, or necessarily as comfortable. It may be something that they are newly dealing with. It may be something they've had to deal with for a long time on their own. So don't be afraid, as intimidated as it might feel, to at least say, "Are you okay? If you need anything, I'm here." Because I know from experience, firsthand this time, that can mean the world. And sometimes that can be all that's needed to start a conversation. So yeah, I think that's kind of the antithesis of what I was the antithesis. That's the crux of what I was trying to say. So much for that English degree, Paul. So yeah, so in summary, going to do some of these videos every now and then, probably about once a month. Talk about a song, how it relates to my journey with mental health, and then try not to give some overly generic, patronising advice, and try not to speak about anyone else's experience without full understanding of it. But yes, if you aren't doing well and there's someone you trust, talk to them. And if there is someone who's important to you that you are concerned about, just ask how they're doing, because sometimes that can be enough. Yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you very much for listening. Take care and be excellent to each other.